Hi, I'm Teresa Green from Slow Paths Wellness. Today I wanted to go over some things I'm learning in a class I'm taking from Dr. Dan Siegel, who is a researcher and a clinician who talks about brain health and proper brain functioning. And in this class, we're talking about what he calls interpersonal neurobiology, which is understanding how our nervous systems work both individually and in connection with other people. So in this particular class, he was talking about different kinds of activities that your brain needs in order to be ideally healthful. And he has, let's see, I think there's 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, there's 7 of them. And he says it's a really good idea to have at least a little bit of each one of these every single day. And since they seem absolutely delightful, I wanted to go on ahead and share them with you in a video. So the first one is focus. And that's anytime your brain is really focused on something without distraction. So he said, that's no phone going, that's not listening to music, that's not multitasking, that's focus. And that can be, at work, it can be as if you're a musician doing something, or art, or musician, or just any time when you're focused, you're allowing your brain to really show what it can do and really focus on something. So that's the first one. The second one is inward time. And that's time when you're really concentrating on what's going on inside of you. And that can be physical, that can be mental, that can be emotional, that can even be sort of philosophical, where you're just kind of thinking, who am I? What do I really think about? Some of the things that can help with that are mindfulness practice. That's a lot of what mindfulness practice is. So it's when you sit and you think, okay, scan my body and find areas of tension, or find areas that feel absolutely fantastic and focus on those. But just kind of knowing what's going on inside of yourself. Sometimes people say they feel like they lose themselves in their day-to-day activities and they don't take time to kind of express their personality. Giving yourself inward time will help that to happen, because you'll know yourself better. You'll know what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what might make you ache. You can kind of understand your insides better, so that when it's time to express them, kind of know what's there. So that's the second one. The third one is downtime, and that's something that I think in our productivity age we're probably sadly lacking in this country. And that's time when you don't have anything to do. You don't owe anything to anybody. You're not trying to be productive. You're not trying to be anything. You're not getting your exercise done. You're just being. You're just downtime, no obligations. And brains and bodies and nervous systems really need that, because they need rest too. And that's sort of a different category than sleep. Sleep is actually a very busy time for a lot of your body. It's doing all kinds of cleaning house and things. So giving downtime is very important. The next one is physical activity. And that's, if you haven't heard that that's good for you, you haven't heard anything about health in the past, 50 years or more. But physical activity is very important. It gets blood flow working properly in the brain and the rest of the body. It helps make a lot of chemicals that help fight anxiety, and also help with things like keeping your cholesterol down and keeping your blood sugar properly managed. It's just all kinds of wonderful things happen with an appropriate level of physical activity. So make sure you're doing enough so that you kind of feel like everything's moving really good, and that you're also not doing so much that you're exhausted for more than an hour or two after you've actually done the exercise, because too much exercise is actually as bad as too little. So we don't hear that very often. I do like to tell people that too, that compassionate self-care is appropriate physical activity. So that's the fourth one. The fifth one, we've already talked about a teeny tiny bit, is sleep time. And sleep time is something that really needs to be a priority for most people. Sleep time is a time that your body really gets to do a lot of deep regeneration and deep maintenance that it doesn't get to do any other time. In fact, Dr. Siegel was talking about that we now believe sleep time is actually when the brain cleans itself. There's some cells in your brain called glial cells that for a long time researchers thought just kind of didn't do anything, didn't even know why they were there. But they think now, they're not positive, but they think now that that's time when you sleep, those glial cells go into action, and that they actually help kind of clean up the brain. They clean up all of the different stress hormones and the different connections that may not be necessary for connecting different things. We know that there's a pretty good chance that the hippocampus, which is part of the middle part of the brain that deals with emotions and memory, that's a time when your hippocampus transfers short-term memory things into long-term memory. And that's one of the things that happens with people with PTSD is short-term traumatic memories don't get processed properly, so they get stuck in the brain as kind of constantly happening all the time. And so when people have flashbacks, that's because their brain doesn't recognize that this is a past thing. They think that your brain and nervous system think you're still in that trauma, and so you have all of the signs of being in a trauma again. And one of the things that researchers believe helps that is a healthy sleep, because healthy sleep gives your brain the room to go through those memories and say, okay, this is short term, this is long term, this is something that's not happening anymore, this is in the past. I can stick it in the storage banks, and that way when I need that information again to stay safe, I can use it, but it's not going to have, it won't intrude in my life anymore. So sleep time is very, very important. Things I've read have said that you need like a minimum of 7 to 10 hours, somewhere in there. And so knowing what your sleep time, what you actually need, not what you want to have, is a really important thing. So it's time when you can sleep. Usually they say if you're sleeping and the amount of time you're sleeping, you're waking up without an alarm, that's a little bit of an indicator that that's the right amount of sleep for you. Now the next one's playtime. And that's something that as adults we kind of miss out on a lot, I think, because a lot of times our playtime feels like work. Work hard, play hard. But playtime should really be very open-ended. It should be a time for your brain to kind of throw ideas around and kind of see what fits and what doesn't. It's a time when things don't have to necessarily make a lot of sense. It can be whimsical and it can be fun. It can be connected to physical activity. You can be running and playing without, you're not trying to get in 2 miles. You're just trying to, chase a butterfly or whatever's playtime for you. So playtime is a really important time to kind of keep the spirit, the zest in life, and it's a good thing to make sure you're incorporating in your life every day. And then the final one is connection time. And that's another one of those things that now research has shown connection time is extremely important for health, because all kinds of stress hormones in the body change when we feel connected outside of ourselves to another person, to a place, to an animal, to a pet, to anything like that. So Dr. Siegel made the point that connection time, we think of it with people, and that is very, very important, that helps us with feeling safe, feeling like we're part of a group. It nourishes parts of our body that deal with calm and sleep and rest, and with healthy hormone levels in everything from blood sugar level to reproductive hormones. But he also says that just realizing that we're connected to something outside of ourselves, that we're not just, that we have our skin and that's a boundary, but that we're also part of the world, that we're affected by the air that comes to us, we're affected by breezes, we're affected by things like pretty flowers that we see outside, and understanding that connection exists and honoring that connection. So we know, like on some people for a rainy day, they just feel sluggish. And instead of just going, well, that shouldn't bother me, to think, what, today's rainy, I feel a little sluggish, I think I'm going to take an extra 15 minutes and read a book for a little while. Or, something that says, I don't have to act as if I don't exist in a world around me. I can take what happens in the world around me into consideration when I plan how I handle my day as part of my compassionate self-care. So let me go over all the different kinds of time to use again. You need to have focus time, inward time, downtime, physical activity time, sleep time, play time, and connection time. And trying to get at least a little bit of each one of those times each day will help your brain be happy. When your brain is happy and your mind is happy, it makes a much better chance of the rest of your body being happy too. So this is Teresa. I'm from Slow Path Wellness, and I hope you have a lovely day.